Hi, I'm Gemma Omens and I'm taking over today's podcast. Share plans are one of the most celebrated ways for companies to reward their top talent and retain staff. So, in today's episode, I'm planning to sit down and have a coffee with Helen Hopkins, who is our client technical director. Helen is a real authority on the topic of reward, remuneration, and all things share plans, and I think it would be fair to say is regarded as a bit of a legend here at Link Group and by our clients and our partners around the industry. I'm hoping to get to find out a bit more about Helen's background and hopefully get to the bottom of what trends are taking shape in our industry so that you can stay on the inside track. I hope you enjoy. Hi, Helen. Please could you tell us about yourself and your career to date?
Hi, Gemma. Yes, so, had a long period of time in share plans. Actually, thinking about it, it's 35 years next month. I've been working in share plan administration, so quite some time. Over that time, I've worked for a number of different administrators, also worked for ProShare. So I've been working here at Link now for the last 19 years. My role involves speaking with clients and also working with all of our internal colleagues about what's going on in the share plan industry. And I've kind of taken it a bit further as well in terms of I also have recently completed a Master's of Research in Management. But there my research project was on ShareSave, and why do employees decide not to take the shares? So that was quite an interesting thing, and so really my work goes home with me.
It's brilliant. It's good. So obviously the topic today is interest rates and bonus rates being introduced back into ShareSave. So with the introduction of those bonus rates and interest rates coming in since 2014, really keen to get your thoughts on what you think this means to our issuers and the considerations they may need to think of.
Yeah, so just to give a bit of background about ShareSave to start with. So ShareSave is an all-employee plan, or Save As You Earn or ShareSave are the two most common names. But also going alongside with this a chance to buy options in the company is a savings contract. Yeah. That savings contract is with a certified bank. So what the Treasury have introduced is effectively changing the mechanism of how interest can be earned on the monies that are being saved. So an employee is saving, say, £10 a month every month for 3 years, so 36 months. And then at the end of that time, they can then use that money to buy shares in their company. So with the introduction of interest rate, it means that those monies will be actually earning interest for the employee. Now, the Treasury have introduced the new mechanism that's going to take place. They launched that in May, and that will apply from the 18th of August. So any invitations that happen after that will attract interest. Now, they talk about interest or bonus. Effectively, it's calculated as an interest rate, but to make it easier to understand, it is expressed in terms of monthly payment amount. Right. So, as I say, at the moment, the interest rate is 5%, so the Bank of England interest rate is 5%. The interest rate typically for ShareSave will be 3% below that, so 2%. HMS Treasury then worked out that is equivalent of a bonus payment of 1.1 times a monthly savings amount for somebody saving 3 years. Yeah. So, for example, saving £10, at the end of 3 years, 1.1 times 10, so £11 bonus that they would get. For a 5-year scheme, because the money's in there a bit longer, actually that works out as a bonus payment of 3 times monthly savings. So actually you'd get a bonus of £30 if you were saving under a 5-year scheme. So we'll begin to mount up a little for the employees and will make a difference. So and the main thing is that cash could be used to buy additional shares in the company.
And I suppose that's the key part. It could be used or it may not be used. You can take that as a cash payment at the end.
You can. I mean, if thinking back to when bonus payments, sort of early 2000s, when they were of any reasonable size, typically companies would allow their employees to use their money to buy shares. I think probably out of that 35-year career, I think I've seen it once where they haven't. And all its other times, yeah, companies have allowed that. So
and so to consider, so for issuers, the considerations for them would be around that point exactly. Would they allow that bonus amount to be used to purchase further shares? And in actual fact, if they did, how would that impact them, as in headroom, costs, etc.? And so is this a consideration you feel that the issuers should be thinking about?
Yes, so issuers need to, firstly they need to have a look at their scheme rules.
Yeah.
What does it say in there? What can they do?
Yeah.
They may well need to speak to their advisors about whether there's any updates to that. But typically they will have been written to say that any bonus payments could be used to buy additional shares. Now the company can make a decision whether they want to allow that or not.
Yeah.
Also, if they're in that position, you mentioned headroom, yeah. So companies will need to, if they're using the shares from new issue,
Yeah.
then any shares that they grant will count towards their company headroom, and the additional shares that are needed, which the bonus can be used to buy, they will also come out of headroom as well. So companies need to bear that in mind. If they are close to headroom, and scale down is sometimes an issue for companies, they have to scale down the amount that individuals can save. One of the methods of a scale down is don't use the bonus to buy shares. So that is possibly one thing that they might do if they're in that scale down situation. But we find that majority of companies, they know what their headroom is going to be in advance. They know, what they need to do and what the sort of likely take-up is going to be. So, but it's just bear that in mind.
Okay. So would you say the introduction of bonus rates and interest rates are seen as a benefit?
Oh yes, definitely, yes. It's been a long time coming back, absolutely. Yes. And I suppose the thing is, ShareSave, it's not just a saving scheme. The saving element is one part of it, and there has been research that says that employees who save in ShareSaves, for some employees, this is their only method of saving. So the fact that even at the end of 3 years or 5 years, they just decide to take the money back, maybe because the share price has gone down, the option is underwater, they're actually then going to benefit because they will get some return on their monies by their interest. But at the end of the day, ShareSave is not just about the savings, it's also an option to buy shares. Yeah. And companies can give up to 20% discount on that option price. So it can mean that if the share price has done well, then employees can make a healthy gain from any share price increase. So it's not just a saving scheme, so you have to think of it in the.
I suppose on the back of that, a topic for another day would be capital gains tax rates and how they've come down. But that's a topic for another day. So with regards to the interest rates being introduced, how do you think the communication of that will be portrayed in the brochures and the invitations for ShareSave launches going forward?
Well, we're going to see some changes that going to have to make. So at the moment, normally when we issue invitations, and the employer will be issued with a copy of the prospectus, which will say this is the bonus rate, which has been 0 for a long while, but that will detail the interest rate in there. Now, what will happen is there'll be just a standard prospectus going forward, and so there will be reference to tables which have got the interest rate. So what we'll probably see is that information will be included within the terms and conditions. So when an employee signs up, they know what they're signing up to. But in addition, we'll see it being included in the communication, so the booklet or the invitation letter or email that goes to the employees. And we'll probably see that there'll be worked examples, because this, for myself, I'm used to interest. I was there many years ago when we used to have it. But this is going to be an extra thing for employees to understand. And if they're not familiar with shares anyway, this can an extra complication. So we want really to make it as easy as possible. So by having a worked example saying, if you save £10 per month for 3 years, and then you get your cash bonus of another £11 on top of that, etc., etc. So then they can actually see, okay, yeah, that's the money I've saved, and I've got that extra, and I can buy those shares. And if the share price does well, then I may get that in the future. So I think that's probably how we'll see it in the in the communication booklets, and also part of the sort of FAQs and other information.
And I think that's the key, isn't it? This is where we're making the complex simple. We need to make it simple for our client issuers, employees to understand what it is that they are getting from such a brilliant scheme.
Yes.
And that's the key. And I suppose the next question for me really is around, how do you think this may impact administrators going forward? Because as we said, from 2014, nearly 10 years, our processes have adapted to having no bonus rates. So how do you think it's going to impact?
Have some impact on administrators. So in terms of what we've been doing here at Link, we've been looking at our systems and testing to make sure that, that they will calculate the number of shares individuals going to get, including that bonus amount, and also looking at the interest payments and all of that sort of movement of monies. So, it's been a matter of sort of doing the testing and ensuring that a training program in place for our call centre staff and for our administrators, so that they're also then familiar with what this is going to be. So if they get any inquiries from employees, they can explain to them, how do you calculate the interest, and they can explain all of that. So yes, there's been a bit of updating for us to do here, but we're all ready for this now, and yes, it'll be good once we get to the 18th of August and we can start to put these in place.
Okay, so what next for ShareSafe?
Well, that's an interesting question, because we think ShareSafe is great, and it obviously does. It's been around for over 43 years now. But what's happening this year is the Treasury have put out a call for evidence on both SIP and ShareSafe, to find out how companies are using them, but also what things can be done to change ShareSafe and SIP to make them better for the future. So really, this is a great opportunity for companies to get involved, to put their thoughts across, and to answer this call for evidence. So we'll certainly be putting things together for Link, and if anybody would like to provide us with their sort of information about their plans and their ideas, it will be great to hear those. But definitely it'd be good for companies to respond themselves to this call for evidence.
And I think that's really important, is it? So anything where these companies have seen gaps or would really like to move forward with these products, this is the time. They've got a window of time, and this is the time. So it'd be really, really good for them to put that information in. Okay, thank you very much. So there you go. Some very interesting points raised. Helen mentioned His Majesty's Treasury's call for evidence for the SIP and ShareSafe schemes, which is open until the 25th of August. If you want to take part in this, I'll leave a link in the description. I'll also leave a note of both myself and Helen's contact details in case you'd like to contact either one of us. If you found this conversation useful, don't forget that you can subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you're listening to us on. That way you won't miss an upload. There's also a range of episodes available on this channel, which includes conversations with similar experts, which we hope that you find useful. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.